Yo, what's up, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video. Something that's kind of been blowing up Twitter over the course of the last couple days are these Bleacher Report NBA redrafts. If you don't know what that means, it means they go back to the year 2016 in this example. This 2016 NBA redraft is the first one that came out yesterday, and they kind of just replay the draft. It's the same draft order, but they put it as if the teams knew what we knew today. They can see the career arcs that each of these players take and kind of take a look at how would the draft change. Obviously, in 2016, the number one overall pick was Ben Simmons, but now there's kind of controversy about how is he willing to learn how to shoot. There's problems with him in Philly, so the question is, does Philly still take him at 1 when you look at this redraft? In addition, great players like Jamal Murray, Pascal Siakam, who went really deep in the draft, Fred VanVleet, who went undrafted, guys like that. How much do they move up? What other guys move down? So it's kind of fun to look at it and see how much it changes over the course of just 5 seasons. This was 5 years ago, this draft, and yet so much has already changed. So we're going to take a look at what Bleacher Report said and why people are kind of mad at it and what people are debating. And then I'm going to give you my NBA redraft just through the lottery. I don't think you all really care who I think goes 30th or 36th overall in the 2016 draft. I think you really care who I have in the lottery. So that's what we're going to go through in this video. So for this first portion, I'm going to scroll down and we're going to figure out who they have going at the top of their redraft. They did start with the 30th overall pick up here. So we're going to scroll over a little bit here and we'll start with the top 14. So they've got Alex Caruso going 14th overall. He went undrafted. Karis LeVert, 13th overall to the Sacramento Kings. Originally went 20th. The Atlanta Hawks from the Utah Jazz pick up Zubac at the 12th overall pick. Originally, he was picked 32nd. DeJounte Murray goes to the Thunder. Would have loved that in that draft. At 10th overall is Jakob Poeltl. At 9 overall is Buddy Hield to the Toronto Raptors. 8 overall is Malcolm Brogdon, eventual Rookie of the Year, picked 36th overall, goes to the Suns. At number 7 to the Denver Nuggets, Fred VanVleet, who went undrafted. So that just shows you how much things change in 5 years. The fact that a player that went undrafted now goes the 7th overall in the draft class, which is really cool to see. And then this is where it kind of gets complicated and really controversial. There are about 6 guys that a lot of people just kind of agree would go top 6 in this draft. In no order, those guys are Ben Simmons, Jamal Murray, Jaylen Brown, Brandon Ingram, Domantas Sabonis, and Pascal Siakam. Those 6 guys people kind of agree would be the 6 to go top 6. So Bleacher Report has number 6 overall, Pascal Siakam, going to the New Orleans Pelicans. Great jump from him, jumping 21 spots in this redraft. Above him, at number 5, is Brandon Ingram to the Timberwolves. At number 4, they have Domantas Sabonis going to the Phoenix Suns. At number 3, Jaylen Brown, right where he was picked originally. At number 2, jumping up 5 spots, is Jamal Murray to the Lakers. And at number 1 overall, sticking in that spot, is Ben Simmons from the Philadelphia 76ers. He stays there. He still gets picked there. And that's kind of the main thing people are mad about is why is Ben Simmons still going first overall? And I think it's really tough because Ben Simmons, I would say, is probably the most talented player in this draft class potentially. His defensive ability, his playmaking, his size, and just the fact that he's such a tall, nearly a 7-foot point guard. Ben Simmons is a super talented player, and I do think it makes sense for the Sixers to pick him again in this situation. They don't know quite how everything is going to fall apart. They just know that he's going to be a really good player. The question is, in my opinion, does he still go first overall? And now I'm going to kind of give you my take on the top 14 picks. So, to start off my 2016 redraft, the 76ers are on the clock. They look at Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons still makes sense. At this point, they don't quite know how the drama is going to go down. They just know what player they're going to get. And with a team with a lot of bigs, having a guy like Ben Simmons to be their point guard makes sense. However, at first overall, I'm switching it up. The 76ers are going to take Jaylen Brown first overall in the 2016 redraft for me. Jaylen Brown is a player that I believe people are kind of lower on than they should be. Jaylen Brown, he's near a 25 point per game scorer, an amazing defender, and he does it all on the court. He's performed in the playoffs or the regular season. He is a guy that I believe in a lot. And when the Sixers look at the roster that they have at this point, all they've got are a few centers with Joel Embiid, Okafor, Nerlens Noel. It's kind of a mess there in the front court. So, if they know they're going to get a score around near 25 points per game down the line with great defense, I don't think they're going to pass that up. I think they go with Jaylen Brown here, and I think he immediately adds a great element to this team. Defense, not quite to the level of Ben Simmons, but similar to him, he's a two-way player with more of a scoring punch, and I think he would fit phenomenally next to Joel Embiid down the line when eventually he comes out on top in that center battle in Philadelphia. At number 2, the Lakers go with Ben Simmons. He is still probably the most talented player in this class. They see what they can get out of him, and they believe that he can be the player that can lead them into the future. They can try and put shooters around him. He can play really well with D'Angelo Russell, who is on their roster at this point. They looked for a small forward in general in Brandon Ingram, who they originally took, but here with Ben Simmons, they're going to look at the defensive potential, the playmaking potential. Maybe they see D'Angelo Russell as more of a scorer, which he is, than a playmaker, and they think that those two can work really well together on the court. I think this would be a great pick for the Lakers, adding some defense to a team that desperately would need it soon. I think the Lakers are super happy to walk away with Ben Simmons here at the 2nd overall pick. At pick 3, the Boston Celtics take Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram brings a scoring punch like Jaylen Brown. At this point, they don't know they're going to end up with Jason Tatum. Maybe they don't in this timeline, but for right now, they know they need some wing scoring. At this point, they have Isaiah Thomas, they have Avery Bradley as their 2 leading scorers. They need some more scoring alongside that, and Brandon Ingram from the get-go is someone that can score the basketball. They need that on their team. I think they're going to bring that in, and when Isaiah Thomas has an MVP season the next year, maybe Brandon Ingram is a piece that can help them try and get further than they originally got. At the 4th spot, you have Pascal Siakam going to the Phoenix Suns. The Suns originally, they were looking for a big man here. They had Devin Booker, and in the backcourt, a reason why they maybe don't go with like a Jamal Murray here, they have Brandon Knight and Eric Bledsoe, 2 good point guards as well as a shooting guard in Devin Booker, who they just took. It's tough to justify taking another guard, especially when you know that Pascal Siakam is going to be the 2nd best player on a championship team down the line. Maybe you don't know that the Raptors are going to win the championship, but you know that he is a championship caliber player. He's a great offensive and defensive player, and I think like the spin memes that have kind of gotten tied to Pascal Siakam have kind of clouded people's judgment about how good of a player that Pascal Siakam is. I think people forget how important he was. A lot of nights, he was one of the best players on that team when they won the championship, and he's going to get better. He's still a really good player, and for the Phoenix Suns to get him here at 4, I think they're super happy with what they end up with. At the 5th overall pick, Jamal Murray goes. He is a guy that a lot of people, when I tweeted out asking people who they would take 1st overall in this draft, he's someone that a lot of people mentioned, and I get why. A great playoff performer, had a ridiculous playoff performance against Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz, and not only that, but he was great against the Clippers. He was solid against the Lakers too. Jamal Murray is shown to be a playoff performer, so it makes sense to want to take him higher. My only issue are his inconsistencies and now the fact that he is injured with a long-term injury. The Timberwolves and teams above them might be kind of wary of that, but in the Timberwolves case, it makes perfect sense to take him here. You have Karl Anthony Towns, your center of the future. So to give him a star guard who you know can perform in the playoffs down the line next to him, it makes a lot of sense, and the Timberwolves probably feel super lucky to get a guy like Jamal Murray here at the 5th overall pick. There's no way they're going to pass up on him. He goes here. And at the 6th overall pick, the last guy in kind of those top 6 guys that we talked about, Domantas Sabonis goes to the New Orleans Pelicans. Anthony Davis maybe can run some center. You know Sabonis can be a great playmaking big. And if you keep Anthony Davis down the line, because they don't know they're going to lose him, but maybe if you bring in a guy like Domantas Sabonis, who is just overall a better player than, say, a Buddy Hield, you ultimately keep Anthony Davis. Maybe you bring in a guy, Domantas Sabonis, who can do some playmaking, he can rebound. Eventually he's going to get better as a offensive player as well, but from day one, Sabonis is going to make somewhat of an impact. He didn't make quite as much in OKC, but maybe now with a front court member like in Anthony Davis, it makes his life a little bit easier. He doesn't have to play quite the role he played in OKC in his first season, where he had to stretch the floor because the Thunder didn't have anyone to stretch it. So the Pelicans go with Domantas Sabonis, a future all-star, and maybe build a star-studded front court, for the future with Sabonis and Anthony Davis. So those are the first 6 gone. It gets a little less interesting from here on out, but there are still some fun picks to look at. For example, the Denver Nuggets, who originally got Jamal Murray here, still kind of want to go with a point guard, and there are 2 names on the board that they can definitely look at: Malcolm Brogdon and Fred VanVleet. Those 2 players could perfectly fit in this role. For the Nuggets, I'm going to go with Malcolm Brogdon because if you remember, this team after this draft made a jump and was right there on the cusp of making the playoffs. This is a team that was trying to make a jump. And Malcolm Brogdon, winning Rookie of the Year, being a guy that can come in and make more of an immediate impact for this team, makes more sense for them, I think. He will also be a great player down the line. He'll help take some of the playmaking burden off of Nikola Jokic. I think they would love to get a guy like Brogdon here, and due to his more immediate impact for a team that's trying to make a jump, they're going to go with Malcolm Brogdon here over Fred VanVleet, who does go to the Suns at the 8th overall pick, just one pick later. This is a great pickup for the Suns. Their draft, they now got the two former Raptors in Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam to build a potential big three down the line of Fred VanVleet, Devin Booker, and Pascal Siakam. That's a really good team. That's a really good three players to build around. Who knows? Maybe they still end up not being great and they end up getting a DeAndre Ayton even still in a couple of years. Who knows? We might do another redraft of that, so be on the lookout for that. I think I definitely want to do one for 2017 if you enjoyed this video, but if you want to see more of these, make sure to like and let me know in the comment section below, and let me know what your redraft looks like. Anyways, back to the video. They get Fred VanVleet at number 8, and the Suns are super happy with the draft that they had. Way more happy than with the draft that they had originally. If you didn't know, it was a bad one for Phoenix. At the 9th overall pick, the Toronto Raptors bring in Buddy Hield. They are a team that has this draft pick from the Andrea Bargnani trade from the Knicks. So they, if you remember, were really good the season before. So bringing in a guy like Buddy Hield that can be an immediate impact guy, all you need him to do is be a floor stretcher and a shooter. And that's exactly what he's going to provide for the Raptors. Maybe he helps them make more of a title run. Originally, they pick up Jakob Poeltl here, who I do think still goes in the lottery and is still a really solid player. A little bit underrated, I think, by most NBA fans. Buddy Hield is going to make more of an immediate impact for this team, and I think they end up going with him here at 9. At 10, the Milwaukee Bucks. Right now, at this point in the Bucks history, they've got Giannis, who just had a pretty big breakout season, Chris Middleton, Jabari Parker, Greg Monroe is balling out still at this point, Michael Carter-Williams is okay, but I think they replace him with DeJounte Murray here. Murray gives them a great defender, a great facilitator, and a really underrated player at the point guard position. You put him in a lineup with Giannis Antetokounmpo and you have two of the lengthiest defenders in the league. You know he is going to be an all-defensive player in just a couple of seasons, and so to pair him with Giannis, who ends up becoming a defensive player of the year, you kind of get a Drew Holiday type guy way earlier in your history if you're the Bucks here. Now, obviously not quite the scorer or even the defender that Drew Holiday is, but providing a similar impact where he can kind of help do a little bit of both and lock up opposing point guards while trying to aid his team both playmaking wise and scoring wise. DeJounte Murray, I think, is a huge pickup for the Bucks here at 10, one of my favorite pickups in this entire redraft. At 11, the Oklahoma City Thunder take Caris LeVert. Going into the season, Kevin Durant had just left, and the Thunder really needed some creation outside of Russell Westbrook. If you remember, if you watched the Thunder at all this season, like I watched a lot of us, Russell Westbrook was really the only one that could create for himself. Oladipo did a little bit, but outside of those two, there really wasn't much there. So to bring in a guy like Caris LeVert, who can immediately kind of create for himself, never been the most efficient player, but we just needed someone that could help create and hit shots when he needed to. That team desperately needed shot creators. And not only that, but going forward, eventually, he will be a big help to add another player who once again can create shots to those Paul George and Russell Westbrook Thunder teams. Caris LeVert, I think, is just a good pickup here, and while Sabonis ended up being the better player, maybe LeVert fits a little bit better off the bat with the Thunder here at pick 11. At pick 12, the Atlanta Hawks, they pick up Jakob Poeltl. Jakob Poeltl is going to come in and make an immediate impact at center. They, at this point, had just lost Al Horford to free agency. Dwight Howard is going to come in soon and play that role, but he's not a long-term fit at that position. Jakob Poeltl is a great defensive player and someone that I think is really underrated just all around. They get him here at 12, and I think he makes an impact for that Hawks team, and they're happy with the pick. At 13, the Sacramento Kings are going to get Malik Beasley. He does have some off-the-court issues, but this past season, he averaged right around 20 points per game, and he's going to come in, help eventually be a nice scorer for the Sacramento Kings, a team that's going to need them down the line. They don't know they're going to lose DeMarcus Cousins yet, which at this point might kind of, if they knew, might lead them to pick Zubac, who, spoiler alert, goes next at 14 to the Chicago Bulls, but instead, they're going to go with the wing scorer in Malik Beasley. And like I said, 14th overall to the Chicago Bulls is Ivica Zubac. He goes here. He's a solid center. Coming off this season, their center was Pau Gasol, who is 35 years old at this point. Joakim Noah is aging. They need a better option outside of like Cristiano Felicio at the center position. So I think they pick up Zubac to be a defensive anchor going forward. He's nothing incredible, but he can grab you rebounds. He can anchor their defense and just gives them a big body outside of a near retirement Pau Gasol. So that is my lottery redraft for the 2016 NBA draft. Let me know who you would have going. Other players that probably would have moved up. Alex Caruso, like we saw in Bleacher Report's draft, I think also goes pretty soon after. Danwell House, Dorian Finney-Smith are some examples of names that I think go a lot higher than they previously went. For example, Dorian Finney-Smith and Danwell House going undrafted previously. Let me know if you want to see more of these redrafts. If you don't, then okay. Also, let me know in the comment section below. Make sure to leave a like. Make sure to subscribe. Appreciate you watching. If you made it to this point, let me know who goes first overall in your redraft. I appreciate you watching. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.